The Alien RPG is a brutal tabletop game that puts you up against the terrors of the Alien universe. In this video, I'll be showing you what comes in the Alien starter set and help you decide if the Alien RPG game is right for you. Space is hell. That is the opening line of this game and is a great summary of the Alien universe. From the horrible conditions of living in deep space, infighting among crewmates, a mega corporation with questionable interests, and an alpha predator lying in wait, Space is Hell summarizes it quite well. The Alien game is straightforward to learn to play. There isn't a lot of focus on levels and complicated abilities like some other role-playing games. The skills and classes are straightforward, and the talents, or what other systems would call feats, are pretty simple as well. Most actions in and out of combat are decided by rolling a assist-sided die, and rolling assist or higher means you succeed. There are modifiers for how many dice you roll, but there are charts to help you easily navigate this. Outside of that, the mechanic that really sets the Alien game apart is the stress mechanic. As your character gets in more stressful situations, or has been in those situations longer, you get to roll more dice and have a higher chance of success. But if you roll a 1 on one of these stress dice, your character can react in a variety of ways, from failing the action to suffering permanent mental trauma. The combat in Alien is fast and brutal. Characters do not have a high survivability, and when they get injured, they can suffer different injuries. From almost certain death with a severed limb to simply a concussion or a broken bone. The encounters with the xenomorphs are as brutal as the movies portray them to be, and can commonly instantly kill characters. They're difficult to kill. Even if they're injured, they can shed acid blood and end up killing you in return. Players have to avoid engaging xenomorphs and are encouraged to play stealthily and intelligently if they want to survive. The game is largely broken down into two parts. One is campaign play. This is what most D&D and Pathfinder players will be familiar with. It's where you have characters that are involved in an ongoing story, which largely won't be xenomorph focused, but more about things like settlements and colonial marines. The other, which is what the game is mostly based around, is where it really shines, which is cinematic play. These are 1 or 2 session arcs that are just one story. Think of an Alien movie by itself, and that is a good idea of what cinematic play would look like. So who is this game for? The game is obviously great for people who love tabletop games and love the xenomorph lore. The stress mechanic is interesting, the rules are detailed and fit within the world quite well. This game is great for people that really want to dive into character motivation and want a way to add inter-group conflict into their game, because you can have traitors in the group or 2 members who care for each other can have completely different goals when it comes towards the end of the game. It can make for some interesting discussion within the group, and while this discussion is happening, they're on a tight time frame because they're being hunted by a xenomorph. This game can be played in a style where it's a slow sci-fi horror game, or it can be an action-packed colonial marine mission. I played both ways and both work well within the game system. The stress test system can cause some interesting gameplay. Having a team member flee due to fear, or having someone just pass out due to fear, can add some real tension to the situation. Do you leave them behind to die, or does your group slow down and try to save them even though others might die in the process? But this game isn't for everyone. Like I said before, the game is brutal. Characters do not have a high life expectancy. Not every character dies a heroic death. Sometimes they are early in the story and they get surprise killed by an alien or some other threat that you've put into your campaign. If your group of players doesn't like characters to be killed, or they don't like particularly brutal deaths of their characters, this game will not be for them. While this game has plenty of nerve-wracking skill rolls, decisions to be made in combat, it's largely not a combat strategy and character building game. Players will have characters that have opposing objectives and maybe traitors in the group, so role-playing is really where the game shines. If your role-playing group gets attached to characters, gets upset when a character dies, and expects the GM to fudge numbers and keep them alive, or they're more into the magical fantasy part of D&D, with the knights and the wizards, this game might not be for them as far as the vibe goes. Also, this game's rules are inherently bloody, so if someone is sensitive to that kind of thing, you might want to warn them ahead of time before they decide to play this game. If your group is into sci-fi, doesn't mind character death, and wants a great tabletop system play in, I do highly recommend this game. So what actually comes in the starter set? The first and most obvious thing you get is the book. The book is high quality and very impressive. It goes over the lore of the universe, gives character customization options, goes over the rules, vehicles, and weapon options, how xenomorphs work, as well as tips and suggestions on how to create your own story and do campaign play. There's lore that's spread throughout the entire book, as well as art that fits the theme of the universe. The layout is easy to use and fits the motif. At almost 400 pages, it's a fully fleshed out game that's worth the purchase. The book includes a scenario to run through called Hope's Last Day. This scenario took my group around 5 hours to play through. This did include a lot of explaining the rules because it was our first time playing, but it was a good length for one session. Hope's Last Day was based around the events of the second movie, and my group really enjoyed it. It's a great place to start to get introduced to the game. Along with the Hope's Last Day mission, they include a map you can use when playing the game, and when you aren't using it for that, there's a nice star map to use on the reverse side if you're doing a larger scale campaign game. There's also another mission called Chariot of the Gods. This is a larger scale multi-arc mission, complete with maps, and it comes in its own book. The starter set also includes 2 sets of dice. One for just normal dice, and one that is a set of stress dice. The stress dice have a face hugger on the one, and are used exclusively for the stress test system. There's also a GM screen that I was impressed with. It has a great design on the outside, and on the inside it has a huge list of cheat sheets for the GM to reference. This includes most of the charts you'll need to reference throughout the game, and keeps you from having to constantly refer to the book. Having this GM screen really helps to speed the game up with all of its references. There's a nice set of reference cards in the starter set. Some of these are used for the Hope's Last Day and the Chariot of the Gods mission, but there's also stat sheets for different guns and vehicles. This is nice because instead of adjusting your character sheet for what equipment you have, you can track it by who has which card, and the cards have the stats for that weapon or vehicle on them to keep them easy to find. Finally, it comes with a large set of tokens to track things like locations of vehicles or xenomorphs, as well as the last location where your motion tracker detected movement. Every piece in the starter set seems high quality, and I was really impressed with it when I received it. The creators of the Alien RPG are continuing to put out expansions and new content for the game. I just ordered the Colonial Marines book, which is meant to develop the character creation session, as well as give you more material for campaign play, which campaign play is one of the weak spots in my opinion. I haven't read the expansion yet, but I glanced through the PDF and it was about the length of the original book, and it seemed just as well done as the original core rulebook. Overall, for anyone who's a fan of horror and sci-fi, this is an awesome tabletop game. I think you'd enjoy the mechanics and the fact that it really does capture the vibe in the original Alien movie. Just know the game is unforgiving to your character, and that they have about the same survival rate as in the movies. In every session I've played, no more than 2 players have had a character alive at the end of the story. It's an awesome game for playing one-off scenarios, and will really make you feel like your character is inside of the Alien movies. If this sounds like something you'd be into, I highly recommend buying this game. Once I go through the Colonial Marine expansion and play a few games with that, I'll be doing a review of that book as well, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Thank you for watching.